Off the Cuff on Wjzz Cool TV. I'm your host, Mark Scott, and tonight we have a dynamic show. I am so grateful to have this amazing artist in the studio today. Miss Diane Mathis. Diane Mathis. Hi, Diane. How are you doing?
Hi, Mark. I'm well, thank you. I'm
Good.
very well, and I appreciate you having me here.
Hey, my pleasure. My pleasure. You're beautiful. You're looking
Absolutely.
great.
Thank you.
Oh, man, pristine. Tonight, we're going to let you learn who Diane Mathis is, has been, and will be. This woman has done amazing things. Some of the people that you've worked with, I know, and we were friends as well. Some of them aren't here anymore.
Right.
But you have an amazing story, and I'm just going to get out of the way, and I'm gonna and let you talk, and I'm only going to interrupt you for the station ID, or if I have a question. And if anybody that wants to call in and ask Diane any questions, you can call 313-355-6018. That's 313-355-6018. Oh man. So, I'm looking to, if you got any questions to ask her about this amazing career that this young lady has had. It's just outstanding. It's incredible. I'm just swept off my feet.
Oh, Mark. So
I really am. I really am. I am so impressed with your story. So we could start with how you first decided you wanted to sing.
Okay. I wanted to sing as even a little girl because all of my family, my father, my mother, and my sister and my brother, my two sisters and my brother sang. We always sang together as a family. My dad played a ukulele, and the first song I really learned how to sing harmony with, I was about 3 years old, and it was Sentimental Journey.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad was funny, and he would always say, "Come on, we're going to sing as a family." And I enjoyed that because I felt that was something that I wanted to do. I knew I had a voice, but I didn't know how powerful my voice could be. I just knew I loved to entertain. Every time family members would come over, my daddy said, "Well, come on, sing, come on, sing." And I would. And then in 1955, my dad bought a month's TV, and the Mickey Mouse Club came on. And when that came on, I saw all these little kids always singing and dancing, and I was just mesmerized. And he took me to Robert Hall's to buy me the little Mickey Mouse ears. So every day at 4 o'clock when the Mickey Mouse Club came on TV, I would climb on top of the television, and my mother would say, "Get your butt off that TV before you break your neck." But Mark, I wanted to sing. I wanted to do what I saw those little kids do.
Okay.
So when Daddy said he bought that TV for me so that I could be watching the Mickey Mouse Club. So to me, that meant I was going to be a participant in what they were doing. And she spanked me every day. And then one day she finally said, "Okay, I'm not going to spank you anymore. I'm just going to sit here so you won't fall off and break your neck and just watch you."
Mm-hmm.
And I knew all the songs. I learned the little dance steps. And I had a ball every single day. And then my mom died.
Mm.
And that kind of changed everything for me. Because after my mom died, my father didn't know what to do with me. I was 7 years old. And I was his only child, and he was 42 when I was born. So he kind of pushed me off onto my sister. Mm-hmm. My sister was wonderful because she was also a heck of a singer. So every day I would lie in front of the stereo, and she had Nina Simone albums. She had Nancy Wilson. She had Morgana King, and Morgana King really touched me because she had that high range, and she just had this sultry voice. And I told my sister, her name was Bonnie, I said, "Bonnie, I want to sing like these women." And she said, "You can. You really can." But I didn't have any outlet for that to happen until I started going to the Elks Club with my father, because he would go to Ann Gott's on Saturday. He would say, "Give me a list of all the songs that's happening on the radio." So I would give him a list. We'd go to Ann Gott's, and I'd have him get all these 45s, and we'd take them over to the Elks Club on 1 and 30th. And the lady that was upstairs.
Where was that now?
1 and 30th. It was an IBPOE of W Elks Club. And he was like the person who ran the club.
Okay.
And the lady that was upstairs, I didn't really know who she was. I just knew she was playing all this beautiful music. So I would creep up the stairs and watch all the little pretty little girls dancing with the leotards and the tutus and the ballet slippers. And I was mesmerized. And every time she would get close to me, I'd run back down the stairs. So one day she caught me and she said, "Why don't you come in here and dance?" And I said, "Well, I can't dance like those little girls." She said, "Yes, you can, because I see you down there when your daddy puts quarters in the jukebox. You do everything you see up here. So don't tell me you can't dance." So she made me go inside and she put on Swan Lake. And she said, "Not just dance." And Mark, I was so excited because I got an opportunity to do what I saw them do. I wasn't trained. I didn't know none of those,
Right.
what they were doing.
Sure.
I didn't know it was plie and releve and arabesque. I didn't know none of those terms, but I did what I saw them doing.
Uh-huh.
And so she said, "You're a natural." So she took me downstairs and she called my father. He was behind the bar stacking beer. "Mr. Hogan's, I need to talk to you about your daughter." So I'm thinking I'm in trouble. And he said, "Well, what did my daughter do?" She said, "Nothing. She is a natural dancer and she should be up here with me on Saturday at 10 o'clock instead of you downstairs with all your drunk friends." That's how she approached it. And that's for real. So she said, "I'm going to take her to Metropolitan Dance Company that had ballet slippers and tap shoes and all the things that we needed." And she said, "I'm going to buy her leotards and tights and shoes to perform with me." She said, "So I'll give you the bill." And he said, "Oh, okay." So every Saturday I was upstairs and she was just so amazing to me because she was like a butterfly. She would just float across and everybody loved her. She was amazing. And then she started taking me to get my hair done, get my nails done. She just kind of took me on. Not as a project. It was like she was just gravitating to me. And so my father asked me, what did I want for Christmas? I said, "Marry Miss Davis." And he said, "Are you crazy? I'm not marrying that woman." I said, "But Daddy, you asked me what I want for Christmas." And he said, "Well, I'm not marrying that woman." So I was on my way out of the bathroom and he had a girlfriend. And she pointed her finger in my face and she said, "I'm going to marry your father and we're going to send you away to boarding school."
Ooh.
I said, "No,
Ooh.
you're not. I got somebody I want my daddy to marry and it ain't you." And I ran out the bathroom. So, and a year later, they got married. And after that, she said, "Well, would you like me to adopt you?" And I said, "Yes, I would," because she was just so wonderful. I mean, she was encouraging to me. And I have to tell you one story that really, really touched my heart to know that she truly cared about me. First of all, she stood me in the mirror one day and she was combing my hair. And she said, "Tell me what you see." And listening to my sister, who really did not like me because we had a different father. My mother had 5 kids with her first husband. But I came along and they were all grown. My oldest sister was born in 1925. And so she didn't like my father. So she used to call me Blackie. But she never said the word. She used to spell it out. She would always say, "Here come Blackie." I didn't know what that meant. I'm 4 years old.
Right.
So I went into the living room and I said, "Mama, what does Blackie mean?" And she said, "Where'd you hear that?" I said, "That's what Betty says every time she sees me come back, because I'm darker than everybody.
Okay.
My siblings were your complexion and lighter."
Okay.
So here I am, this little chocolate drop, head full of curly hair, and I got hair on my ears, and she told me I was going to be ugly and I was going to be black. This is what my sister told me, and this is the honest to God truth. So my mother slapped her, and after that, she hated me because I got my mother's attention, and she said that I was taking a spot that my mother shouldn't have had another child. She didn't like my dad. So I can't help that. But the thing is, once I met my stepmother, she stood me in the mirror and I said a little black thing. She turned me around and held me so tight it made me nervous. It made me scared. And she said, "You are not a little black thing. You are a beautiful, smart, talented little girl. And I want you to speak to yourself every morning before you go to school and you tell yourself that." She made me read the daily word every single day. It was sitting next to my plate in the kitchen when I would get ready to go to school. I had to read a passage. So she empowered me to feel that I was worthy, that I was valuable, and that I should never speak that again. And when I saw the movie The Help, I don't know if you ever saw the movie The Help. There was a scene in where Viola Davis was taking care of this little white girl.
Okay.
And her mother didn't want to have anything to do with it because she was a little chunky little girl. But she made her feel unloved. But Viola Davis treated her lovingly, and the little girl loved her.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "You is kind and you is smart." And I said, "That's my life." I cried through that movie. I said, "Oh my God, that's my life." That's what my stepmother said to me. And so now getting to how I got to sing, my stepmother took me down to Kresge's one day, and they had this doll called the Patty Patty Pale doll. You hold her hand and walk with her, and she, she would walk with you. And so I said, "Ooh, I would love to have that doll." And she said, "Maybe one day you'll get it." So I said, "Okay." Well, I wasn't gonna ask her. I just said I'd like to have that doll. So one day, about a month later, the Patty Pale doll came to my house, and it was no tape over. It was just tape on around the box, but you could see the doll.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, "Oh my God, she bought me the doll." My Uncle Henry lived with us, and he kept passing by the diner because I went and got some scissors. I cut the box open. I took the doll out. I was taking the clothes off, put the clothes back. I was combing her
How old were
hair.
you?
I was 8.
8. Okay.
I was 8 years old. And so when she came home, my uncle kept saying, "Well, you're going to get in trouble because when she come home from work, you going to get a, is your name on that box?" And I said, "I don't know. I didn't look at it. I know that doll is for me." So he said, "Okay." So every 10, 15 minutes, he come by the dining room where I'm in there playing with the doll. He said, "Ooh, your stepmother's going to be home real quick. It's almost 5:30. She get off work at 4. She catches the bus home. She'll be home shortly." I started panicking, Mark. My hands started sweating. I was like, "Oh my God, she gonna kill me."
Yeah.
So when she came in, first thing she said, well, she used to call me Twinkle, because she said, but my eyes would light up when I would get excited.
Mm-hmm.
She said, "Twinkle, did I get a special box today?" And I'm like, no. She said, "Are you sure?" I said, "I don't think so." She said, She left the room and she came back. "I'm gonna ask you again. Did I get a special box today?" And I didn't tell the truth. I was terrified because I didn't know how she was going to respond. So she said, "I'm going to have to spank you because you just told me a lie. I trusted you to tell me the truth." And she said, "Go in your room, your little transistor radio comes out, your record player and your radio. Nothing. All you can do is read, eat dinner, and go to bed." So I said, "Okay." So she had bought me this beautiful, it was like a two, it looked like this, but when you open it was 3 mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
And she had put velvet on the chair and put velvet in the drawers, put some little gold knobs on it. She refurbished it. That's how I learned how to refurbish furniture.
Okay.
I learned that from her, and she was a hell of a costume designer. And she had her own fashion designs. She had another lady, Miss Grace Peoples. They would travel all around Detroit. She had 10 black models, and they were beautiful women.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I became friends with one after I became an adult because I saw her in the grocery store at Farmer Jack's, and she remembered me. So anyway, she says, "That's it." So I'm sitting in the mirror and I made up this song, "Nobody Loves Me." I'm just singing my little heart out. And she came into the room. She said, "Didn't I tell you you couldn't have any music in your room? Where's your radio?" I said, "I don't have it. You took it out." She said, "Well, who is that singing?" I said, "It's me." She said, "I don't believe you. Sing it again." I started singing it again. And she said, "Oh my God, you can dance and you can sing? Oh, I got plans for you." That's what happened. And that's how I got started singing. So everything she was doing, every fashion show she did, I would perform in the show. And when I was 11 years old, she did a fashion show at a club on Joy Road called Malls. And Dennis Edwards was the drummer there for the band.
Who?
Dennis Edwards was the drummer for the band that was playing.
Is that
And
right?
yes, and Lou Rawls was the entertainment along with the fashion show. And let me see, what did I sing? I know what it was, "Drowning My Own Tears." And he came in the dressing room and knocked on the door. He said, "Excuse me, ma'am, this little girl here, that's your daughter?" She said, "Yes, it is." He said, "Can I take her out on the road with me?" And she looked at him. She said, "Mr. Rose, are you crazy? My daughter's only 11 years old. She's not going nowhere with you." But that showed me that I had something special if Lou Rawls wanted to take me out on the road.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when I was like 13, she would take me to the Hobby Bar, which was on Linwood right before Davidson,
Mm-hmm.
and 12th Street, the Chit Chat Lounge where Martha Jean was the DJ. And I would sing the three little songs that I knew, drowning my own
Martha
tears.
Jean the Queen.
Yes, I went to school with her daughters.
Is that
I
right?
did. I sure did. At St. Martin, well, actually, it was visitation, and then it morphed into St. Martin de Porres. And so I did. I went to school with her daughters, and so that's how I really got started. Because she would take me around, and Rudy Robinson was the keyboard player over at the Hobby Bar, and she told him, "Let my daughter sing." So he knew because sometimes when she would do fashion shows, she'd have live music playing. So he would let me come up and sing my little songs, and as soon as I got finished, they told me I had to go because I was only 13.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's kind of how I got started.
Excuse me.
And then Ziggy Johnson, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but Ziggy Johnson used to write for the Michigan Chronicle. He had an article about entertainment, and he and my mother were friends. And so he called her and he said, "You need to take your daughter up to Golden World Records because they're looking for a female vocalist to take the lead because they were just doing three-part harmony, but they didn't have a strong lead." So she said, "Do you want to go and audition?" And because she had taken me to Motown, and they said they wouldn't even look at me because at that time I was about 8 years old, and they knew she was going to be a backstage mother because she was. She wasn't taking no mess for real. So I went to Golden World and I sang Misty, and the girls. They were a little older than me because I was 14 when I first joined with them, and they were like 16 and 17 because they had already graduated from high school. So
Now this is the Debonaires.
yes, this is the Debonair.
Okay, I'm gonna pause you right there
Okay.
just for a second. My goodness, you guys are really learning a lot about Diane Mathis
Yeah,
here.
that's how I got
Her
started.
her career, and she's just getting started. This is just the tip of the iceberg. But you're watching WJZZ Cool TV, off the cuff. I'm your host, Mark Scott, and we're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and other top social media platforms. So like us, follow, share, leave a comment because we want to know what you think.
Absolutely.
You can call us at 313-355-6018. That's 313-355-6018. And hit that subscribe button down at the bottom there. And subscribe so that you don't miss any of these interviews, any of these programs that we're offering that keep you informed as to what's going on in your community and the people that are in it. You got some really outstanding jewels here in Detroit and in the entertainment industry, and this is one of them tonight, Miss Diane Mathis.
Thanks, Brooke.
So thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. Now, with that, happy birthday, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Steve Jackson. This is his birthday. I wanted to make sure I plugged that in. But go ahead and tell us about the Debonaires. I was going to play that song. You did a song.
Yes, I did.
How
It's your new love.
your new
treating you.
love treating you.
Absolutely. We recorded that at Golden World Records. It was on Davidson right there at Wildermere. And all of the musicians from the Funk Brothers came over there to Golden World. You know, moonlighting, recording songs,
Sure.
and all the artists that were there. Because when I first got there, the Dramatics were there. And they had a song called Bingo, Love is the Winning Hand. Tony Hester, who wrote a lot of the dramatic songs, he was there. He was an amazing arranger and producer and could sing. And he was the coolest guy in the world. I have a story about him too. He was so cool. And then there was Edwin Starr, and it was the Holidays. And the Holidays had one of the biggest records there, along with the group that had out just like Romeo and Juliet. I don't remember their name off the cuff, but they were the only white group that was there. And that was a big seller. And so was I Love You Forever. And actually Edwin Starr sang the lead on it because Tony, who actually wrote the song, not Tony Hester, Tony Gray, or Maurice Anthony, but Tony Gray, he was the one, him and two guys, Robert and Butch, came up from Mississippi. They already had that song because they had been hearing music all around the radio, and they came up here to say, hey, we want to get into the music business.
Sure.
Because they were dynamic. But Tony had a lisp, so they didn't want him to sing the song. Edwin Starr did. But when they went on their live shows, Tony did, because Edwin didn't go out with them. But anyway, the thing was is that Golden World had everything that Motown had. They had every artist. Like, for example, they had Rose Batiste. She was sort of kind of like the Tammy Terrell,
Mm-hmm.
Pat Lewis, and that was like oh, I forget. My mind is going bad with her name, but you know who I'm talking about. She sang the Black National Anthem. She did a whole lot, and I'm sorry I did not remember her name, but you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yes, you know, she was from Motown. So
Mm-hmm.
Patsy was like her, and then the Debonaires, we were like the Supremes because we did dance routines. When we did the first show we did together was on this on Robin Seymour's. My mother bought us some beautiful satin pink suits, and
Mm-hmm.
we had canes. And when the music would do the blue, they do tap the canes, and oh, it was so elegant because my
Okay.
mother was a dance teacher,
Mm-hmm.
so she kind of navigated with them, though they were doing their own choreography when I came along.
Mm-hmm.
But getting back to how I got with the group, so I went to audition, and I sang Misty. And they said, well, we have to have a meeting to decide if we want you or not. So I didn't know. I said, oh, they were going in their office. That's what they said. They were going in their office. And I said, they got an office? Wow, this is big time. So guess what the office was, Mark? It was the girls' bathroom.
Okay.
So I had to go to the bathroom. And I passed by and I heard them in there just giggling and like, yeah, we want her, we want her. And they came out all sophisticated.
Okay.
Mr. Wingate, yeah, we'd like to have Diane as our lead. And I was like, oh my God. But I'm thinking they were so much older than me, but they really weren't.
So this was the Debonaires that
Yes.
went into the bathroom
Yes,
to
their
discuss you.
office. Yes. That was their office.
Okay.
And Mr. Wingate said, okay. So a gentleman by the name of Robert Staunton and Robert Walker brought
Mm-hmm.
How's Your New Love Treating You to the studio. And Robert Staunton, that was my first time ever being in the studio. I was so excited and I was nervous.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, now, the way they record, back then, the whole band was there. The whole orchestra was there with the strings and everything. You cannot mess up. You got to go in there and do it. Because every time you stop, the whole thing stopped. Because, you know, they didn't have no tracks back
Right,
then.
right.
So I was determined I was going there and I was going to nail that song. I rehearsed that song. I was up in the mirror pretty much every day rehearsing that song, my part as the lead. And when we went into the studio, we did that song in one take. I was 14 years old. Absolutely.
But you put the work in.
I did. I had already been doing shows. I was already doing shows with my stepmother. And she was a stickler. Oh, and Ziggy Johnson was also like my person who, when I got with the Debonaires, I was already dancing with him.
Mm-hmm.
So he put in the paper, he said, Diane Hogan is singing a brand new tune, and that's ouch, ouch, ouch. Because he had me on the floor. He showed me how to use the microphone and turn around and engage over here, engage in the center, engage over here. He said, you're going to be ready for this. And I was ready.
Mm-hmm. You had some people take you under their wing
Yes.
and to mentor you.
Yes. Absolutely.
At a young age.
Yes, at a very young age.
Right, and Detroit at that particular time was just overflowing with talent.
Absolutely.
It was more talent than the record labels could handle.
Well, you know, with so many record labels, Golden World, Motown was not the only company. There was
Right.
Correct Home Records. There was so many record companies all around the city of Detroit because everybody wanted to be like Motown. And so people were recording everywhere in basements. And, you know, it was just like one of my best friends said the other day. She says, Detroit has more talent in a teaspoon than the people all around the world because Detroit is the mecca of entertainment. And I've learned that by being out on the road. Every time I said I was from Detroit, oh, you're from Detroit? Oh, my
yeah.
God.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
Detroit is amazing. It has so many superstars. And I'm like, that's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've met some of the best vocalists, male and female, and musicians working around the city of Detroit. Because I worked on the circuit, what a lot of people don't really know about. I worked for Lorian Ross Agency, Sterling Diversion. We had I think it was in August, out at the Hilton out there on Crooks Road in 75.
Okay.
They would have all these bands, like Jerry Ross had like 500 bands,
Yeah.
and you had 15 minutes to be on stage. And if you went 1 minute over, they shut the lights out on you. So you rehearse, so everything was perfect for your 15 minutes. You got your costume, and they had a sheet on the table, and it would rate what kind of music you did, your presentation, how you were dressed, your delivery on stage. So but they were looking to take you to their supper
Sure.
clubs or their restaurants all across. It wasn't just here in Detroit. It was Pittsburgh, Toledo, Cincinnati, Ohio. It was every place that they had major corporation places where you could go and entertain. We did 5 sets a night. And I always say,
Now, this was as a debonair, or were you doing
no, this was
work
just
with?
working with the various bands that I worked with
Okay,
in
all
the
right,
city of Detroit.
all right.
So the Debonaires was just the starting point for
Right,
me.
right.
But I ended up traveling all over the country with what we call a roadshow band because we did costume changes, we did imitations of other artists, we dressed up, we did the 5 sets, and that was all the music that they wanted to dance to. Which when I went to North Carolina and South Carolina, they called it beach music. So it was songs like "Give Me Just a Little More Time" and "Somebody Sleeping in My Bed." You know, those
Give
kind of
me just a little
yes,
more
yeah,
time.
absolutely. And those were the kind of songs they wanted us. And we had this little rinky-dink set. I mean speakers. And so the guy looked at us. He said, "You, were you gonna play with this?" Because we had the minimum. Because we was trying to get out
Sure,
here.
sure.
And he said, "In order for you to be booked the way I want you guys to be booked, you got to get a sound system."
You gotta get what?
A sound system.
Oh, yeah.
So we had to pool our money, and we had a band that was breaking down all the time just so we could get to the next gig. I mean, it was a horrifying experience, but sometimes it would be so exciting because when we would go up, be a packed house, and they would tell us sometimes we would work for the door, and then the place would be packed because we were bringing people in. Oh, I can't give you the door. Oh, I'm serious. These are things that we
Yeah.
experienced out
Yeah,
here
sure,
on the road. It was
sure.
crazy.
Yeah.
But Mark, I would not change a thing. I wouldn't change anything because that made me know what I was capable of doing. So
So
I
all you
get it.
young people out there, you see that what tenacity can bring you,
Absolutely.
opportunity after opportunity, and you were prepared, and your mother
She prepared me. She really
was
did.
supporting.
And let me tell you something that she told me because I had an experience, Mark, and this is very true. I was after I left the Debonaires, and Joyce went on with Tony Orlando and Dawn, and Elsie and Dot had babies, so they weren't interested in going on the road. But I still had that bug. So when Robert Walker came to my parents, because I was 18, and said, "I want to sign her up with Capitol Records." And my parents said, "Really? You think, you could really do something with her?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "I already talked to the people." And he brought a song to me. And the song that he brought to me was "How Does It Feel?" And on the other side of the 45 was "Love It All Around." And the DJs were playing both sides of my records. I only had 145, but they were playing both sides of the record. And I was at WGPR radio station, and there was a little guy that came from Capitol Records. And he said to me, Robert says to me, he wants you to meet him at the Americana Hotel. And I said, "For what?" And I'm serious, Mark. I was 18. I had left my job. I worked at the doctor's office to go to the interview. And so he says to me, he just want to talk to you. And I said, "I don't believe that. I don't trust that." So I went outside. They used to have a payphone right there on Jefferson, right on the corner of where WGPR radio station. I went and called my mother at work. And I said, "Mommy, I got something I want to talk to you about." She said, "What's going on? You okay?" I said, "Robert brought this gentleman from Capitol Records. He wants me to go to the motel with him." And she said, She said, "I told you, you're being presented with the casting couch." She had already told me about the casting couch. And I said, "What? Why you think that?" She said, "Come on now, don't be naive. That's what's happening." She said, "So I hope I taught you enough for your self-esteem to know you don't have to do that for your career to bloom and blossom." She said, "You're talented, you're smart, and you're pretty. And I was already writing songs. I was
Mm-hmm.
writing songs when I was like 8, 9 years old because I used to do puppet shows at my school. And my school always asked me to do something because the auditorium teacher, Miss Burl Green and Miss Madeline Forrest, always came to me because Miss Zodi Johnson, who was my fourth grade teacher, after my mom passed away, she came to me and she said, Miss Hopkins, you never smile. What's going on? And I said, oh, Miss Johnson, I'm not happy. I said, my father's put me over here and put me over there, and I just feel displaced. I feel like a nobody. And she said, well, I tell you what, she gave me a spiral notebook. She said, I want you to write every single day something that you're feeling. If it's a poem, if it's something that you're hurting with, or something that makes you happy, I want you to write every single day. And I did. And what really helped me, we had a safety week. And so I've always been into puppetry because I would make little sock puppets. And we had a big screen porch over on Penn Creek. We lived at 2475 Penn Creek between Leadwood and LaSalle.
Mm-hmm.
My father would cook sausages. And I had the Jiffy Pop popcorn. You remember Jiffy Pop when
I
you pop
do.
it and it'd open up?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was making the popcorn. My dad was making the sausage, and I had Kool-Aid. The hot dogs were 10 cents. The popcorn was like $5 for a little bag. And then I had the Kool-Aid. And I would do a little puppet show. Well, for Safety Week, they said come up with a scenario about safety. So I had this clown head, and I made him the spirit of safety. And he would escort the kids across the street. And that's the first time I won anything. I won $50 at Thurgood Elementary School. That's that was my first task to know that I could write.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always singing. I'm making up songs like I
Sure.
made up Nobody Loves Me.
Sure. Talent was
So
just overflowing.
always,
Yeah.
my mind was always racing.
We're gonna
Always
we're gonna
racing.
pause for another second. I got to do another station break, and we're gonna come back and start right there. Okay. All right. You know, Diane Mathis, outstanding story.
Thank
Um,
you.
this just a fascinating. It's a movie.
You
It's
know,
it's definitely a movie.
you know what, Mark? That has ever been my goal to write. Well, I've been working on my autobiography for many, many years,
Mm-hmm.
and then sometimes it takes me to a place where sometimes I can't handle it, so I stop
Mm-hmm.
and I put it aside. But I'm writing other things in between that time. But I was told just last year, a young lady walked up to me and she said,
Hold on one second.
"Okay,
Save that thought.
okay,
Let me get this out the way, and we're gonna
okay,
get right back to it.
okay,
I want to hear this story.
okay."
But you're watching WJZZ Cool TV. This is Off the Cuff with Mark Scott. I'm your host, and we have a dynamic guest tonight, Miss Diane Mathis. So we're live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, X, Twitch, and other top social media platforms. So like us, follow, share it, leave a comment. You can call in at 313-355-6018, 313-355-6018, and subscribe. Hit that little subscribe button down there. And follow WJZZ Cool TV. It's the coolest station in the world. I love saying that line.
I like it
That's
too.
my favorite line. But go ahead and finish your story.
Well, Mark, as I said,
You're
being a
writing
writer as a
your
child,
story.
that helped me get through the depression that I was experiencing after losing my mom and having to live with my older sister. So, and her husband didn't want me around because I cried every single day, and I had a nightlight on, and he kept
Okay.
saying I was making the electric bill go up, and I would hear her fussing. I mean, him fussing at my sister. So I called my dad every night. Daddy, please come and get me, because Haston don't want me here. That was her husband's name. I said, Bonnie is not happy, and I don't want to be here. So he said, okay, I'm gonna come and get you. Well, he takes me to live with my cousins, who lived on Kirby, right off of Hastings Street, and they were 11 and 13, and they were wild. They were absolutely wild. I'm serious. They were doing everything they wanted to do. We lived with their grandmother, who was a full-blooded Native American. Her name was Miss Bonner. And she was in a wheelchair, and she had a cane that she would pull herself around, and she would beat them, but get them to do what she wanted them to do. They didn't do it. So I'm running the streets with them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 8 years old. This is before my dad put me into the dance school and everything. So I'm running up and down Hastings Street. So I'm hearing what's going on at the Flame Show Bar because I'm running up and down Hastings Street with my cousins. I ate a bologna and cheese sandwich on white bread with sandwich bread every single day because if Grandma Bonner fell asleep because she was 80 some years old, fell asleep, you could smell the food burning from when we were coming home from school. And I kept saying, I don't want to live like this. I want to live with my dad. I want some security. I'd call him and he would always say, I can't take care of you. I gotta work. And it was always some excuse. So I ended up years later having to write, and I am a published author in a magazine called Turning Point, The
Okay.
Power of Forgiveness, because I had to learn how to forgive my dad for his neglect. And I'm just being real. This is what I lived through.
Hmm.
And I was actually,
Your voice is getting soft.
oh, I'm sorry. I was actually just ripping up and down the streets, but I
Uh-huh.
would hear the music.
Hmm.
And of course, they knew I liked to sing, so they would, walk me up there so I could hear the music. I'm sitting outside and I hear all these people singing and people, beautiful gowns and furs going into the building. I
Hmm.
didn't know what that was. I just knew it was something that sounded like something I wanted to do. So I've always known I wanted to do what I heard and sing the things that I heard and wear beautiful clothes. I
Hmm.
knew that's what I wanted.
Hmm.
And that's the truth. But as I was talking about being out on the road, we would be in our hotel rooms recording original material
Out on the road
all
with
the
who?
time. Oh, I've been out with so many bands.
Yeah.
I was out with the group called, first group that I was out with was called Sapphire. And Jerome Howard became one of my best friends. He's still one of my best friends. He, amazing, play every instrument, sing and write. And he would say, I got this idea, listen to this. And he would play this, and I'd come up with the lyrics, and I'd go in the bathroom, because that would be our echo chamber, and I would
Hmm.
record all these songs.
Hmm.
And this was something that we would do, and we would sell our cassettes on our gigs.
Hmm.
So
Cassettes you recorded where?
yes, in the bathroom, in the bathroom at the hotel,
Yeah, yeah.
wherever we were working.
Okay.
And so, and I did the same thing with Rumpelstiltskin. Rumpelstiltskin is one of the baddest bands I've ever been with because the guy who was the lead of it, Sammy McCants, he was an amazing. You talking about amazing? He was from Ohio. And we used to do. Remember the song "Do You Think I'm Sexy" by Rod Stewart?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, and James Brown. He would put whiteface on this side and blackface, and he would be James Brown on this side, and he would be Rod Stewart on that side, and he had on white on this side for Rod Stewart and black on this side for James Brown, and he would turn around and do a "I feel good," and then all of a sudden he would do you think I'm sexy? It was the most amazing thing I ever seen in my life. It was amazing. And this is the band, this is one of the bands that I was recording in the bathrooms with. So I'm telling you, the I just can't explain how fabulous this was. So I
Beautiful
wrote,
time in your life.
oh my God, I
Absolutely.
wrote a
How old
play.
were you at this particular time? 18?
No, I was early 30s.
Oh, okay.
I was early 30s.
Okay.
And what was so cool was because being out on the road, we had so many experiences. We, like I said, the club owners would say, "Okay, well, you can get the door." And then when they see the people coming in and the ring,
No, you can't have
no,
the
you can't
door.
have the door.
That's too much.
No, you can't do the door. So a lot of times we wouldn't even get paid. There have been times when we packing up because we didn't get paid.
Hmm.
And so I decided, after I went through all those experiences, I said, I'm going to write a story about me being out on the road. And I called it Bar Stars because that's what I felt we were, because we had a following. People were coming from everywhere to hear the bands that I was with. As I said, I was in Richmond, Virginia, and I was singing with a group called Clever Affair. And a gentleman walked up to me and asked me, could he record our group? And I said, I don't have the right to tell you that, but I mean, you have to ask the owner of the band. So he said, why you want to record us? He said, because you guys could be in Vegas. Because I was doing Dolly Parton's. I was singing 9 to 5. I was doing everything. Olivia Newton-John. I was dancing, changing clothes, and oh my God, we had so much fun. So
Yeah.
I said,
Multi-genre?
right, we were bar stars. So I wrote a musical called Bar Stars about being on the road and all the things that we went through with our van breaking down. I tell you one of the stories that happened with us. We were in Mississippi. We were coming back from a muscular dystrophy thing,
Mm-hmm.
and these our axle broke, so the van kind of veered into like a little trench,
Mm-hmm.
but we couldn't get it out because we didn't have no trailer to pull it out or nothing. So when dawn broke, the guy said, "You gotta go up the top of the hill and flag somebody down." I'm like, "Why do I have to do this?" They said, "Because if they see all us black Ben, it's gonna be a problem." So I was
Mm-hmm.
a nervous wreck. I climbed up the hill. I saw these guys, and
That
I
was kind
asked them.
of synonymous with black groups going out on the road.
Yes,
You were in the South,
absolutely.
right?
At Mississippi,
Mississippi, yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
And so when that happened, the guys stopped, and we said, "Well, at that time I was with the Platters, and they said, well, what you doing out here, gal?" And I said, "Well, our van broke and we need help. And so, what you doing out here? Who are you? Why are you out here?" And you know, I was terrified, Mark. I said, "Well, I'm with the Platters." "You ain't with no Platters." I'm like, "Yes, I am." I
You
got
know they knew
pictures.
who the Platters
Oh,
were.
you know that,
Of course.
absolutely. So we had pictures.
If I
Only you, Great Pretender, Smoke is it.
only you. Yeah.
That's right. So they wanted a picture and they asked us to sing a little bit and we did a little bit. So when I saw the 5 heartbeats, I was like, I already been to that, did all of that. So some of the things, like they say, um, movies replicate real life situations, and I had that. I had that with the story I told you about with the little girl that Viola Davis was saying to the little white girl,
Mm-hmm.
"You was love, you was kind." You know, and I'm like, so I've had two experiences now that I really have seen in the movies, but I had it long before those movies came out.
Of course.
So that's important. I want to do that story because every entertainer across the country can relate to being a bar star. Absolutely.
Well, I wanna get into this Pat Lewis
Oh, how I got with
Isaac
Isaac.
Hayes thing.
Okay.
And then, but you know, you have so many. You know, I was told that we're gonna have to have a Diane Mathis Part One, Diane Mathis Part Two.
You know what, Mark? Because I have so many stories that I
Sure.
have experienced, and that's one of the reasons why I have to write my book.
Yeah.
Because the things that I've experienced, some people probably don't believe me, and I
Hmm.
don't care because I know what I lived
Of
through. I
course.
know what I
Of course.
experienced.
Of course.
So how I got with Isaac Hayes.
Wait a minute now. Wait a minute.
Okay.
Let me do a station
Okay.
break
Sorry.
because this
Go
is gonna
ahead.
be the last part of our
Okay.
show.
Okay.
We got about maybe 6 minutes.
What?
Yeah,
Already?
yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
That's why I said, you know, I was told you getting ready to interview Diane Mathis. You're gonna need a part one and a part
Oh
two
my
on her
goodness.
show because her
Okay.
story is is so fascinating.
It is. It really
So
is.
you're watching WJZZ Cool TV. This is Off the Cuff with Mark Scott. I'm your host. And our dynamic guest is Diane Mathis. So we're streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X, and other top social media platforms. So you like us, follow us, definitely follow us so you don't miss a single episode. We will have a part two with Diane because I'm telling you, she's just getting started with the, oh man, it's just so many people. So I'm gonna get this out of the way. So share us, leave a comment, and subscribe. Make sure you subscribe. You can call in at 313-355-6018. But her story is so fascinating. I'm glad the phone is not ringing because I don't want to interrupt this fascinating story. So thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. So Isaac Hayes.
Yeah, well, Mark, that was an amazing experience for me. I worked at Michigan Bell out on 10 Mile and Southfield Road. I worked the afternoon shift, and a gentleman called in complaining about his bill. And so that was my department. So I had to take all the information down. And he says to me, "Do you sing?" And I said, "Yeah, why? How do you know?" He said, "You have a sing-song voice." I said, "What is a sing-song voice?" He said, "There's melody in your talking." And I said, "Oh, okay, I can understand that because my mother told me When I was a baby, I never cried. I would hum. When I wanted to nurse, if I wanted her to pick me up, I would sing because she sang to me all the time, and I heard that voice, that melodious, sweet soprano voice, and I just replicated what I heard her doing. I didn't know I was doing that. I'm a baby. I don't know this, but this is what my mother told me.
Mm-hmm.
And so when he said that, I started laughing, and I thought about what my mother said, how I didn't cry. I wasn't a cry baby. I was a real happy baby. And so, anyway, he says, do you sing? I said, yes, I do. He said, no, I mean, do you sing professionally? Would you like to sing professionally? I said, sir, I do sing professionally. I've been singing professionally since I was 8 years old. So he said, okay, so are you interested in going out on the road? And I thought, well, heck yeah. But he didn't tell me who it was. He said, I'm going to give you this number. I need you to call and set up an audition. I said, okay. So I called. I had no idea that I was calling Pat Lewis. I had no idea. I called to ask for Pat, and she said, what voice do you sing? I said, I can sing anything, first soprano, second soprano, alto, and I can sing some tenor notes. She's like, oh, okay, so I'm just being honest.
This is Pat Lewis.
Yeah, this is Pat Lewis.
Okay.
So I went over to her house, and I knocked on the door, and when she came to the door, she looked at me, she said, Diane Hawkins, what you doing here? I said, I came to audition. She said, you got the job. That's how I got the job. Now you tell me that ain't nothing but intervention of God.
Of course.
I went out on the road. Well, first, I didn't go out first. We were supposed to go to Barbados, but the capital got bombed. So Isaac called back and said the tour has been canceled. Now, in the interim, I have quit my job at Michigan Bell.
Mm-hmm.
And my supervisor, her name was Lynn, she used to come out and see me perform. So she knew when I said that I was really leaving to go with somebody important. She said, okay, Diane, well, they gave me a going away party. And then Isaac called back and said, okay, so now we really are going. I said, well, Isaac, she told me if I quit, I can't come back. So I had quit. But when he called and said, are you sure you can go out? I said, I don't know. I went back to her and I said, Lynn, I got another opportunity to travel with Isaac Hayes. She said, don't come in here talking about you going to leave. Because you can't come back. If you leave this time for real, you cannot come back. She wasn't mean about it, but the policy was. So I said, okay, I won't be back. And I never went back. And then we ended up going to Australia, and that was an amazing experience. Well, first I met him down in Atlanta, and we were recording. He took me in the studio. I'll never forget this. And he gave me the root note. He said, the root note is this. I want you to sing over that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can go higher than that, go over that, and then go over that.
So this is Isaac Hayes.
Isaac Hayes. And he said, sing the lowest note that you can sing. And he stacked the harmonies.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow. He said, you have a great ear.
Now this was all new to you, right?
Yeah, because all I did was sing lead with debonaires. I never sang background with them.
Okay.
I was doing all the leads.
Right.
So I didn't have to harmonize with them, but I knew how to harmonize.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't do it with them.
Mm-hmm.
But with Isaac, I had to learn to really hear, because once he told you this is what you sing, if he says sing the next note, he's not going to give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to hear it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I could hear it.
Yeah.
And he said, you have an amazing ear. I said, well, thank you. I was so excited.
Yeah.
He was
Isaac Hayes
wonderful.
was an absolute genius.
Oh my God, he
when he passed, Don called me in St. Louis
Okay.
and told me. I mean, not more than an hour after he passed, because he knew we were good friends.
Okay.
And
He was the nicest guy.
he really was.
He was.
We're gonna have to do this again
I love
because we are out of time.
Okay.
And I don't want you to start a story that you
And
can't
can't
finish.
finish.
But
Well,
we're going to bring
thank
you back. We're going to bring you back. We're going to schedule it again.
Okay.
We might even do it next week.
That's fine. Just let me know.
And let you pick up with Isaac Hayes and go from there, because you got Johnny Taylor.
Yes.
You got a whole slew of other people.
David Ruffin.
So Diane, I want to thank you for coming through.
Thank you for having me.
You are
I
absolutely
appreciate it.
an amazing artist.
Thank you.
And I say that from the heart, you know what I'm saying?
I appreciate that coming from you.
And I know that these people, my viewers, are really just salivating right now.
I hope that they will just understand I believe that when God gives you something, and He usually gives you more than one talent,
Oh yeah.
and the gift is that you're supposed to take that in His honor and give back and help others. And that's
Sure.
always what has been my thing.
Mhm.
I've mentored young girls. I've had two little girl groups come to me and ask me to help them.
Mhm.
They won competition at the school I was teaching at the
Mhm.
time. So that made me know I have to give back, just
Yeah.
like I was
Well, the
given.
blessings that God gives you,
Mhm.
they multiply
That's true.
when you share them.
That's true.
So
That
that
is absolutely the
absolutely.
truth.
And so Diane, I want to thank you again for being on Off the Cuff with
Thank you.
WJZZ Cool TV. We're gonna have to have you back
I
so we can
appreciate
finish this
that.
this amazing career that you've been on, this
Thank
journey
you.
that you've been blessed with. So we are all out of time. I want to thank you for watching Off the Cuff on WJZZ, Cool TV, streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We will be rebroadcasting this. If you want to see this interview again, it will also be rebroadcast on Facebook and YouTube and at tjent.com at the on the off the cuff page on the internet. So thank you again for watching, and it's been our pleasure to have you,
It's my
Diane.
pleasure as
We
well.
will, like I said, we're gonna have to have you back. So we love you. You guys have a great night, great evening. We'll see you next Tuesday at 7 to 8 on WJCZ Cool TV. Good night.
Well, thank you. I can't believe a whole hour went by.
I'm
Oh my
telling you,
God.